color guard, hold left face, present colors.
Please join us with the I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Have a seat.
Order, colors, right face, forward, march, left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right, right.
Administer oath of office to elected officials. Ms. Hargus.
All right, so we're all together. So you raise your right hand. I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign or domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Roll call members, we have Linda Brandts. Here. Mario Gutierrez.
Here.
Jim Bender.
Here.
Carol Robinson is absent. Mario Gutierrez. And Joanna Marquez. Linda, your motion.
I make a motion to approve the agenda with the correction on page 4, page 5, section C. I want to table that to the second meeting this evening.
Talking about special meeting. All in favor? One absent. Comments from the public. Members of the public may address the board on any item within the jurisdiction of the board by submitting presentation requests, etc. Members of the public are strongly urged not to mention personnel by name and are reminded that they do not have the meaning of legal action for personnel by name. items not on the agenda, such items will be referred to the superintendent. And we have one, Mr. Mark Notley.
Good evening. Congratulations and thank you to our newly elected board members. On November 27th, my 11-year-old son was kicked off the school bus for not having his bus pass with him. He was told he could not ride that day. My 13-year-old daughter was concerned for her brother and also got off the bus so he wouldn't be by himself. The bus finished loading and drove away, leaving an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old literally on the side of the road. This should be a concerning issue for this board for multiple reasons. First of all, nobody informed me that my children were unattended and not in school until I got a phone call from the office at 6 p.m. Fortunately, I was aware of the situation immediately because my children have cell phones and called me right away. Thank goodness they made it home safely. Second, as we are all aware, our school district is in financial crisis. It has been stated by Mrs. Hargus that ADA attendance is down to the tune of around $2 million. Now, I know 2 students missing one day is not going to make up that amount of money, but can we really afford to just leave ADA money on the side of the road? My children did not go to school that day simply because a bus driver decided they didn't have to go. Nor can the district afford litigation. While Ed Code is very vague about responsibilities of the school district for kids at the bus stop, courts in California have been holding schools financially responsible for situations at bus stops. I have previously spoken to Mrs. Hargus and Mr. Eric. They both agreed with me that this policy needs to change and that we should not be leaving kids behind. I have also been in contact with Dan Rybar with the California Department of Education. He is the Transportation Director for Region C, which includes Kern, LA, San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura counties. He has stated that the policy of leaving children behind at the bus stop is, quote, immoral at best. Mr. Rybar has suggested that the board make a board policy that transportation should not be leaving children at bus stops on the side of the road. He is expecting follow-up from me this week, and I am asking that you add discussing the board policy stopping this immoral practice to next meeting's agenda to ensure that no child gets left behind. Also, I am asking for the board's comments on this. Under Government Code 54954.2, no action or discussion shall be undertaken on any item not appearing on the posted agenda, except that members of the legislative body or its staff may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed by persons exercising their public testimony rights under Section 54954.3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Reports and comments?
Thank you for bringing it to our attention. I think this should be a priority.
What are the ages of children?
11 and 13.
Thank you.
If I may, I don't know if I'm out of turn. I think we can all agree that we are in a more dangerous society now than it was in the 80s.
Yes.
In 1980, in Mojave, my 11-year-old aunt was kidnapped and murdered walking to school. So this is a real danger to my family has been through it. Unfortunately, many other families in our society have been through this, and it's something that, like I said, I don't think any child should be left on the side of the road at a bus stop because they don't have a pass. Like I said, Ms. Hargus, Mr. Eric, they seem to agree with me when I spoke to them. I would just like to see the board act on it.
Reports and communication. ASB student board member report. Showcasing West Department. Board communications. Mr. Gutierrez.
I want to welcome everybody who's here and our new board members. Welcome. Thank you. We will have, I think, a very good, productive board, and I really look forward to working with them.
Okay, Mrs. Brandts, after that, too.
I would just like to say I have a lot to learn as
far as the procedures, because of course my first inclination is to, anyway, I need to learn the process, okay? So I do look forward, I have many ideas. The bus pass thing is a personal issue of mine as well. I have a child who has ridden the bus since kindergarten. And so anyway, I just look forward to hopefully serving the community, and I have lots of ideas from a parent's point of view.
I'm Jim Bender. Usually pretty quiet, but I want to thank everybody that voted for me. I really appreciate it. I've been out to Tropico. Mr. Adams showed me around. I'm really impressed with it. He's doing a great job out there. I've been to a couple of the activities that we're having. Went to the West Park little musical they had today. That was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Looking forward to working for the school district and making our schools really good again. I remember back when I went to school, we were proud of our school. It seems like a lot of kids are losing that, and I want to bring that back.
I'd like to say also that I was at Tropico and I enjoyed that council that they had last night. It was really awesome, especially for the new students that started with the musical and the choir as well. I really enjoyed that. I want to say congratulations to the new board members. I really am looking forward to working with you all. And I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. And I want to say have a Merry Christmas and a safe New Year's. And we'll hopefully looking better for a new year for our district. So, thank you. Our team report.
Good evening. Welcome. My name is Jim Bowman. I'm president of the Roseland Teachers Association. Appreciate you being here tonight. I'll touch upon that in a moment or two. I apologize to the board that I had to miss last week's meeting. And usually I have a somewhat prepared statement that I try to present for the board that give you the information of what's going on. I guess a state of the district from the viewpoint of the teachers and some of the concerns that we have. But it's been an absolutely crazy week, about a week before vacation, so I'm shooting from the hip tonight, and hopefully I'll give you the information that I need to provide without rambling too much. First of all, I want to thank past board members David Gregg and Sandy Kirk for their service. I wish I would have been here to do that last week. David Gregg only served for a short time, but I think he brought to the board some interesting ideas. And the primary idea there is to take a look at things outside the status quo and to see what we can do to just make some minor improvements so that we continue to open those lines of communication, understanding, and collaboration so that we can provide the success in the district and for our students, as Mr. Bender mentioned. And also Sandy Kirk for her very long service on the board and very long service in our district as a CSEA employee. I think we all know Sandy came to the board meetings every other Wednesday with nothing but concern for the students in her heart and worked diligently to try to make sure every decision made was for the benefit of the students. So I really want to thank both of those people for their service, and hopefully you'll pass along those things when you see them next time. And then to welcome our new board members, Mrs. Brandts, Mr. Robinson, or Mrs. Robinson and Mr. Bender. Welcome to the board, and Mr. Gutierrez for his re-election. Again, I'm president of the Roseland Teachers Association. I'm very grateful that I have the opportunity to address the board at every meeting. Sometimes my presentations can be rants, and sometimes I throw in some theatrics, as Mr. Otis would attest to, but mostly just to try to drive home the points from the viewpoint as the teachers, and again, only with the goal in mind of what is very best for the district. Because what is best for the teachers is going to be best for the students, and it's going to be best for the district. I've been serving Southern Kern Unified. I've been a teacher in the district for 27 years. I've been president of the Roseland Teachers Association for more than 20 of those years. I'm always available to give you input and feedback for whatever questions you have. I think I have more experience in our contract and the budget and pretty much everything else that goes around in the district than probably everybody else in this room. And if I can help out in any way, that's my job to do. But certainly it's also my job to represent the teachers. So again, tonight I have to express frustration. Continued frustration with the fact that once again, a tentative agreement in negotiations that is more than 7 months old still does not appear on a board agenda. I was told it was going to be on the December 5th agenda, and 2 days before that agenda, I understand it was pulled again for one item in that tentative agreement, which had to do with class sizes at our Abraham Lincoln Independent Study, and also how the serving of home hospital students affect those class sizes. And the reason for that item being pulled is that being a cost item to the district. And I certainly agree that class size can be a cost item in the district. I do not argue with that at all. It's very important because it determines how many employees we have, how many teachers we have in the district, and the number of teachers is the biggest cost item in the district. So I get that totally. But this is the language, first of all, the language in that was asked for by the district, and I provided it. It is also the class size that we've been operating at under for the last 8 to 10 years, so it's past practice, which the district is bound to legally, past practice. We've always had class size limits, it just never specified in the contract what the class size limit was for independent study teachers and how the serving of home hospital students that they meet with 5 days a week impacts that class size. So I already pulled one item from the tentative agreement just to get this thing done. And again, that item I pulled was asked for by the district. So I had already pulled one item, and I was told that tentative agreement would be on the December 5th agenda. And then 2 days before the meeting was told that, again, the tentative agreement had pulled for a second item. So I have to ask, if I pull that one, which one would be next? And I can tell you this is absolutely not a cost item for the district. The other one we pulled was absolutely not going to be a cost item for the district. And in fact, now, the only thing on the tentative agreement that is a cost item that hasn't been voted on was to put a cap on costs. And because that tentative agreement hasn't been voted on, that cap's not in place. So it is a cost item for the district. Again, with my experience, with my integrity, with what I've done to serve for the district, I am more than happy to meet with the district, the board, the consultant from the county to try to explain why these items need to be taken care of. We need to get them in place so that we can then move forward, because we are not going to negotiate our next contract until our 7-month-old tentative agreement has been agreed to. And we need to look at the next contract again so that we can make sure things are in place to help the district's financial position. So, your board members, I apologize, but this is the kind of issues that from time to time I get to bring to the board. And I do try to bring the positive issues to the board as often as I can as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bowman. You have a CSA report? CPO report?
Presentations. Can I comment on anything you said? I just want to know, when you said, I mean, district, are we talking our local school district?
Yeah, when I say the district, it is the Southern Kern Unified School District, which is the entity that RTA works with, negotiates with for the employee relations for the teachers.
So do we have lawyers looking at this? What statements are?
We actually have a county representative.
The new appointee.
Well, you have a negotiator in the county office. Yeah. Tim Salazar.
I've been to a few meetings in the past, and I've heard his arguments. I know I sort of, when he was going to come up tonight, I wanted to figure out what can we do. Is there something we can try to hurry this up? Who do we need to talk to? Okay.
Next on the agenda, we have the Board of Trustees Organization meeting for 2019 Board Subcommittee Volunteer Assignments. The first one,
good evening and welcome, and thank you all for coming. I want to welcome all the new board members to the board, and look forward to working with all of you. We do have a lot of work ahead of us, so we'll be busy. Schools have been busy, middle school, high school, getting those finals done, elementary, really busy with those Christmas activities, right before we go on break. So it'll be a much needed 3-week break for all of our employees. So I hope that everybody enjoys that time off. So I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas, and we'll see everybody back in January.
And to subcommittee volunteer assignments. Budget and Brandts. Board policy. Brandts. And we have Carol Robinson. Curriculum. We have Carol Robinson. Brandts. Athletics. Okay, we got Gutierrez. And Bender. Projects and planning. Gutierrez and Bender. Discipline review, I'd like to do that. Calendar, I would like to do that. Anybody else have a calendar? Carol. And then we have info technology. And I'll sign up for that as well. Gutierrez and Sanchez.
Who took that?
Myself. And Carol. Establish the board meeting calendar dates.
All right, so we have listed our calendar dates for 2019, and most of them fall like normal, but first and third Wednesdays. Second Wednesday, if we need expulsions or other special meetings. We also wanted to add to our calendar a board workshop on Saturday, January 12th, and that'll be from 8 a.m. to 12 to noon.
Mrs. Hargus, are board workshops public sessions?
They can. The one on the 12th will be governance and on the Brown Act.
Thank you.
Your motion. Second by Harris, all in favor? Aye. One absent.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Yes.
Election of board officers and sergeants.
I'll move that we table this till we get all 5 officers here. We have Carol's out for she's out. So I can do that until January. We can do that, correct?
Can we give?
It's your reorganization meeting, and you posted it as the reorganization meeting. That's part of the problem. Yeah. I don't disagree with you, Mario. You want to have a full board, but you could always ask your superintendent to check with legal counsel tomorrow, and if you have to call a special meeting, then you would have to.
I said we'll get elections.
Yeah. Okay.
I move to appoint Gutierrez, or to nominate Mario Gutierrez as president
Yes.
Okay, so. Arlen, second by, Bennett. Do we vote? All in favor?
In favor.
Aye. Make a motion?
We'll make a motion to, if Yolanda will be my second.
I second. I accept. Second by Brandts. All in favor? Clerk.
I would like Ms. Brandt to be our clerk for the board. And say yes.
Gutierrez, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I motion that Yolanda Sanchez be our representative now.
I accept. All in favor?
Aye.
And second by Bennett. Consent items, A3E.
I'll make a motion with clarification. On the vouchers, Eric, I just want the public to know on, there's a $70,000 expenditure that I did not recognize when I was going through there. And would you explain this, Eric, what that was for, please?
Yeah, that's the cost of tuition for a private placement student. We can't provide the services for the student, so we have to place him in private facilities for his education. That was the cost of the first quarter, or the first semester for his education.
It's a special education.
It's a special education cost. And it's in his IEP, and we have to follow it.
Yeah, it's on. Thank you.
Do I hear a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd like to understand a little bit more.
Okay. Let me find it. That's fine.
We don't provide the service, you said, so we had a,
Yeah,
Where's the student going?
It's in Lancaster,
Yeah, what's it called?
Autism Academy.
okay. This is just one thing.
Yeah.
I second. Yay.
Yeah.
Gutierrez motion, and it was seconded by Benny, and all in favor?
Aye.
One absent. Personnel.
I'll make a motion to accept the personnel as written.
I second.
All All in favor?
Aye.
Business and operations, generally submitted to retirement health liabilities under the GASB 7475.
That's not it. Okay, this is a brief presentation about the GASB 7475. So GASB is called Government Accounting Standards Board. This is a report that we have to do every 2 years. It's a study on our other post-employment benefit costs. So we had an actuary do this report for us, Total Compensation Solutions. You saw that contract on the board agenda a month ago. So the purpose of the report, provide information needed to comply with GASB Standard 74 and 75 related to other post-employment benefits. So what this report estimates our total liability created for OPEB, our total OPEB liability, service costs, the value of OPEB benefits earned for 1 year of service. So every year, current employees earn OPEB liability. They earn OPEB services, and we incur liability for that. And the OPEB expense, this is the amount recognized in an accrual basis financial statement as a current period expense. So what it costs us for a 1 year period. So this is what we offer our retirees district-wide. It's a little difficult to read, but it's pretty much, it's broken down between certificated management and confidential and classified, but they both get the same benefits. Medical, dental, and vision, up to age 65, with some asterisks that was negotiated 3 or 4 years ago, which says you could have 5 years of benefits for service of 12 to 19 years of benefits can age beyond 65 if you were hired before that date. If not, at age 65, you're required to go on to Medicare. The required service time, 20 years. Minimum age is retirement. Dependent coverage is offered, and 100% of the cost to the cap. So our cap is currently $18,500. So the findings from the report, the pay-as-you-go cost, so this is what we pay on a current basis. It comes out of general fund for the cost of OPEB is $1,650,000. That is a general fund expense, so we pay it on a monthly basis as part of our health and welfare costs. For current employees, the value of benefits accrued, so what our employees earn on a yearly basis is $1.1 million in future liabilities. Our total OPEB liability, so that's all of our current and former employees that have earned some sort of OPEB service from the district. The total cost to us is $18.2 million. That is, again, it's an actuarial study, so it's an estimate. It's a best guess estimate with the numbers that we're providing to them. This is our cost of pay-as-you-go. So we pay out of pocket we pay dollar for dollar for every cost that we incur for OPEB costs. And so you see 2018, the cost is 1.85 and so forth as you go down the list. So that first column is the total cost for all for all units, all employee units. So you see it fluctuates based on the number of employees, retirement, life expectancy. Any questions?
So when there was a decrease, is that, are you factoring in that maybe there are people deceased, dropped off?
Yeah, so the actuarial study would take into account life expectancy. So based on life expectancy, the number will increase or decrease.
I can send you the report too.
That's fine.
So the certified district representation. Certification.
Do you want to do the
I can do a presentation.
do the presentation?
So the presentation and first interim report will be done in the special meeting, which is right after the second review closed session. Next. Public hearing for developer fees collected as required by Ed Code sections 66001B and 66006B. Eric? Eric.
Yeah, we have to go to the public hearing. Make a motion to go to public hearing.
One second.
Sarah, second by Brandts. Sarah, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So developed by people who are building residential developments and commercial developments. Developer fees are used to mitigate the cost of additional students in the school district. So basically the idea of it is that someone's building a house, it's going to increase the enrollment for a school. So the developer fee is supposed to help mitigate the cost of the school. Cost of providing housing for a student. So we get $266,000, and we ended the year with $20,000 in developer fees. We collected $404,000 for last year in developer fees, and we earned $3,300 in interest. Developer fees were spent in this way. RES is $32,000. RHS is $314,000. CMS $516. West Park $1,155, and portable leases throughout the district $128,974. For a total spending of $478,000. Plans, architectural fees, for ag building and CTE buildings. Not just, but it was all sorts of projects like fire alarms, audio visual. So these are just some of the projects that we spent money on: fire alarms, flooring, new flooring, portable lease payments, lighting, our HVAC, architectural drawing, fencing. It's a pretty wide variety of projects that we use this money on. Any questions?
comments?
I have a quick question. Are there any requirements on the expenditures of developer fees? For instance, I noticed the distribution of fees by site. Is there any requirements in terms of how those are distributed by the sites, and also for the different projects, or is that much like a general fund in which you could spend those funds indiscriminately?
Yeah, generally, if we were more spread out, if we had distinct areas that we could show, so a housing tract built near one of the schools versus a housing tract. If we had more distance between our schools, then we'd be required to spend those funds on those schools closest to the development. But since our schools are so close to each other, we could spend it in a unified manner.
And are they required to be spent on facilities or facilities-related projects?
Correct. Only facilities related. We cannot buy things like furniture or technology.
Thank you.
Is there a facilities master plan?
We do not have a current one, and I don't, in my 3 years, I don't recall us ever having a recent one done.
Yeah, it's been about 5 years since one we did that.
So we're due for one.
How much is it going to cost?
Facilities master plan, so we can add, I think it's important to make sure that all school sites,
We have a facilities master plan is important so that all school sites are adequately getting projects done in a fair way. Of course, some schools have more needs than others, but I think it's important to have a plan in place so that you know, because I see that Tropico only had like 514, was that 1,000 or 100? But it was a lot less than the other schools, so, and I know that's an older school, so I guess we have to make sure that there's anyway, plan in place.
Any comment from Tropico?
I have a lot, but I don't have time. I would motion that we go back to our regular meeting.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any absent? Only 6. Next on the item is approved 2017 resolution 18-19-05 of the governing board of the Southern Kern Unified School District regarding the annual county fund 25 and developer fee report. Government Code Section 66001D and 66006E.
So it's just a resolution showing where the money was spent, basically. How much we took in and how much we spent and where we spent it.
That was basically the slide you showed.
Correct.
can we get an itemized report of that? Is it in there? Do I have it? I'm sorry. First page, 47. Do you have an itemized report?
The resolution doesn't require one. It requires just where it was spent. But we could put a report together. For like a project-based report.
Yeah, just so that we have a knowledge of what's going on. What's happening.
How about a new conferences? Like last few couple meetings that we were working, ex-board mentioned a few things about solar power. Are we doing anything with that, or that was a good idea? It has to be put up for discussion. We'll put it on the agenda. Can we do that? I just like to know if we dropped it since he's not here. Okay, put it on the agenda.
Second by
Second.
Brenda. All in favor? Aye. Any absent? The time is 7:49.
Reconvene?
Second.
Second.
Benton, all in favor?
Aye.
The board took action to accept the settlement agreement for case number 20.807109. Recording of this meeting is being made and shall be kept for 30 days as public record. Pledge of allegiance led by students, which is I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call. We have Mario Gutierrez, Brandts, Kern Bender,
I'm still.
Carolyn Robinson is absent. Students, Michaela and Anna.
Through the agenda?
Second by Bender, all in favor? Aye. One absent. Any comments? No comments. Okay, business and operations, first and second. Mr. Harris.
There's copies of the presentation over there. I've got a copy. Some small numbers that I can't see either. So. Yeah. Oh, turn around. The first interim, that's one of three interim reports that the state requires. It's basically a snapshot of how our financial situation is from July 1st, the start of the fiscal year, to October 31st. This is a budget reporting cycle. So the budget reporting cycle is when reports are due, when information is released. The yellow is where we are, that's December, the first interim. Our next major announcement is the governor's budget proposal, that will be the new governor. That will be in January. And we'll report on the second interim. That is basically our situation from July till the end of January. Third interim, because we are negative certified, is a required report. Third interim will be in April. April or May. And the governor may revise, so that's a revision of his January budget. And then in June, we adopt a LCAP and a budget. And this is a continuous cycle. The LCAP is what drives this entire process. The LCAP is also our LCFF funding, so the local control funding formula is tied to LCAP. So basically, we're working on 3 different fiscal years throughout the cycle. first interim. So basically the definition of the first interim is a financial snapshot from July to October 31st. So it's required to be submitted to the county by December 15th. It must include a certification of our financial status, either positive, qualified, or negative. A positive certification means we can meet our financial obligations for the current year and the next 2 subsequent fiscal years. A qualified certification is a sign when we can meet our current year or we cannot meet the 2 subsequent fiscal years. A negative certification is a sign when the district will be unable to meet its financial obligations for the remainder of the current year or for the subsequent fiscal years, which would be our situation. So this is a snapshot of our current year spending versus last year's spending up to October 31st. So the first interim for this year versus the first interim of last year. As you can see, spending is quite lower than it was last year. We spent 11% less so far this year than we had last year. And it's broken down in major categories: certificated salaries, classified salaries, benefits, supplies, and operating expenses. That is the total amount, 17-18, 18-19, the year-over-year change, and a percentage, what a percentage looks like in terms of the change versus 17-18. Actuals to date, so this is what actually has occurred, meaning cash exchange trends. We spent 1.4 million less in 18-19 compared to 17-18. 11% decrease in spending as of the first interim. So this is our budget. Budget is estimates, so it's not actuals. So these are the revenue part of our budget. These are the major components of our revenue: LCFF sources, federal revenue, other state revenue, other local revenue. You can see there's a major decline in LCFF sources. This is as a result of a decline in our projected ADA. We projected to grow as a district in terms of enrollment, but the growth never materialized. We have flat enrollment. Enrollment is basically exactly the same as last year, 3,560 students. So due to not having any kind of growth, we have to assume that we're going to receive the same amount of LCFF funds that we did last year. So LCFF, if you have lower ADA between 2 years, you're held harmless, meaning you will receive the same amount of funding the prior year. So if next year we have lower ADA, we'll receive the same amount of funding this year, next year, and so on and so forth. Also, another thing that affected us was our unduplicated count. Last year we had a 72% unduplicated count. This year we have a 66% unduplicated count. Unduplicated count means we get more in terms of supplemental and concentration funding. Those are meant to help students who are free and reduced, English learners, migrants, homeless, and foster youth. So also, you'll notice other state revenues declined by almost 20%. That was because at the June revision for the governor's budget, initially the thought was $344 per ADA one-time funding. That was changed to $184 per ADA at the last minute, resulting in a reduction of one-time funds of $532,522. That resulted in some of that money was included into LCFF with the cost of living increase for the LCFF calculator. So some of that money was spread out for a few years rather than getting it all at one time. So this is the budget overview for expenditures. The original budget is what was approved in June. The revised budget is our first interim. You'll see it's a positive number, meaning it's a positive impact to our budget. certificated salaries are $611,000 less than projected in our initial budget. Classified salaries are 10% less. Employee benefit costs did go up by $514,000. Books and supplies, that budget was reduced based on current spending levels by $354,000. Services and other operating expenditures did go up by 10%. Capital outlay is pretty much on track. And the other two categories, there's no transactions. Reduction in salaries due to attrition, so if someone leaves the district, retire, best fill a position. The benefits increase due to retiree costs and increases in pension costs. So when someone retires the year before, we have to wait till they retire and choose their benefits before we can budget for it. Also stirs and curs the cost of our pension contribution in terms of our employer contribution. So every dollar salary for stirs, we pay 16%, so 16 cents towards pension. Every dollar of classified salary goes, we pay 18 cents for pension costs. That's not OPEB, that's just pension. An increase in services due to a private placement of one student, and we have a contract with a registered nurse because we were unable to hire a qualified applicant. Ending fund balance, this is a total based on revenues and expenditures. So it's our operating balance for our current year. Originally, we had assumed an operating surplus of $1.4 million. Because of our flat enrollment, we have an operating surplus of only $705,000. But that's only operations. We do have $1.4 million that is slated to complete the construction project here and pay for our lease payments and the final 5% of the cost of building the schools, RES. So that $1.4 million results in a net decrease in fund balance of $694,000. We already have a $3.2 million negative fund balance, so that will result in a $3.9 million negative fund balance. And this is unrestricted. Our multi-year projections. So multi-year projections is the current fiscal year and the two subsequent fiscal years. We are projecting revenues and expenditures. So the revenue side of things, the only thing we could project with any kind of confidence is a cost of living adjustment for revenue. So that top line LCFF, 2.9% is cost of living and 2.6% is cost of living as well. And that's determined by the state. The next line, you will see federal revenue. That is adjusted by the federal government based on a CPI index. So we only know what we're going to get that current year. So we have to assume we'll receive what we received the prior year. The other state revenues, you'll notice, decline significantly next fiscal year. That's because of one-time funds. One-time funds we can't rely upon to get receiving every year, so we had to adjust the revenue down to reflect the reduction in one-time funds that we would receive this year. So that's the major part of our revenue, our only part of revenue for this fiscal year and the next two fiscal years. So we can't project anything above cost of living adjustments. For multi-year projections, our expenditure side. So our expenditures for multi-year projection, that first column is current fiscal year. I apologize again for the title on top. The middle is the next fiscal year and the third fiscal year out. So our expenditures, as you will see, there are increases and there are decreases in the next two fiscal years. The increases, 5% for health and welfare across the board. That's good. Historically speaking, 5% is probably not enough, but it's what we assume will go up because we did not have an increase in health and welfare this year. That includes health and welfare costs, pension costs, There is a cost, step and column increased cost, so we assume 1.5% increased cost for step and column. That means as you have to earn more service time, you move up on the salary schedule. Supplies and operating expenditures are increased by cost of living adjustment, or based on CPI, which was 2.5%. You'll notice reductions in the next fiscal year. Those are reductions in force that we are going to bring to the board in January for comment. Those are reductions that we feel need to occur, and in order to stay on track to become a positive certified school district, we'll need to address those reductions. But those are just estimates in terms of reductions. Our fund balance for our multi-year projection. So 18-19, we're headed in the right direction in terms of getting out of our fund balance situation and having a reserve, but it's not fast enough. In this fiscal year and the next two subsequent fiscal years, we need to make more progress towards establishing a fund reserve. There's no telling what's going to happen with the economy. There's too much uncertainty out there, so the quicker we can get to a fund balance, the better we are. Any questions?
I'm curious on the supplies on actuals and date, it decreased by 58%. What are some areas of supplies that have been cut? 58%, that's a lot.
Yeah, so we went, transportation would be one of those. Rather than having everything in stock, we buy it as we need it. That was in past practice, that was changed recently. Athletic equipment.
Wait, transportation as far as what? I don't understand what that is.
School buses. So tires, spare parts, things like that. Custodial supplies, taking supplies, we try to keep to the bare minimum in terms of limiting the number of products we carry. Of course, we still carry the essentials, but we try to pare down from 20 different cleaning products to maybe 9 or 10. Other supplies, sporting equipment, we reduced those purchases. Basically, anything that's not essential, we haven't approved purchase of.
Okay, so supplies in the classroom, such as paper, pencils for students.
We still purchase those.
Okay. All right. Okay. So then on the next budget overview, revenues, then on the LCFS sources, the decline in projected ADA, what was used to project the ADA? Why was there such a discrepancy?
So in the 15-16, 16-17, and 17-18 school years, we experienced 12% growth in enrollment. That was assumed that would continue, but we saw no growth this year.
Was there an agency used? Was this on construction? How did you project that at 12%? I mean, I don't understand how that was done.
The growth. It was just based on what we've experienced in the previous few years. And that was in consultation with the county. Before we used the projections, we made sure that they were okay with it. So that was a number that everyone felt comfortable with. But the reality is we just did not see that growth this year. And 12% growth for a school district is unheard of in this state.
And then the unduplicated counts, that's part of it as well.
Yeah, unduplicate account, majority of that information comes from the state. So if the student is directly certified, meaning they participate in some sort of low-income program, then that's a majority of that number. But the rest of that is self-reporting families. So if a family doesn't report their income level to us, we're not able to count them towards our unduplicate account.
So is there something done differently from the one year to the next? Because I know there was a message that went home to families as far as reporting. So I'm just wondering, was there something done differently for such a decrease in the reporting?
The form changed. We're not, because we're a very eligibility permission school district, meaning all of our school meals are free. We're not allowed to accept free and reduced lunch meals. We can only offer and accept an alternative income form. So maybe families weren't familiar with the form. That may have been a reason. The alternative income form basically asks the same questions. It's just called alternative income form. That's one thing that we've made a priority this coming summer, to put it in the enrollment packet and require a response to it. We are able to require families submit that form to us. We're going to make it part of our Aries enrollment packet so they can complete enrollment unless they finish that form.
Okay, so far is that being effective?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of feedback from families in terms of Aries. From turning around one day, we had about 40 families fill out the form. So I think it's just a matter of advertising it and letting people know how important it is to us. And the other part of the duplicate account in terms of LCFF, we have a 3-year average. So it's a weighted average based on 3 years. So because we were 72% and we are 66% this year, we'll actually get a weighted number based on that, rather than just at 66% on the duplicate account.
And I do, and as a parent, I think the enrollment process online is much better as a parent, so I agree with that one. Okay, and then you have services and other operating expenses on the budget overview. So I see there's an increase of 10%. So was that the RN hiring the consultant of the RN and the private school? Was that 10%?
Correct. Yeah, and that's a budget. So the RN is used on an as-needed basis. So in order for us to claim any kind of Medi-Cal funding, the RN needs to sign off on our claims. So we use the RN as needed, but the contract that was signed with the company is a not to exceed amount. Special education does their best to only assign enough hours to complete their job.
And an LVN, is that it?
No.
Okay, and then you were saying there's a difference in one-time funds. What are the one-time funds?
One-time funds were from the state that were basically meant to be used for any purpose the school district seemed fit to use. It was sort of like a bonus for school districts. So if revenue at the state level came in higher than projected, they would put it towards one-time funds. What happened was they decided they're going to increase the cost of living adjustment for LCFF, which would carry over in fiscal years, and just reduce the one-time funding.
So the salary for the RN, what fund did for salary there? Did you take it out of the Medi-Cal reimbursement, or?
It's general fund expense.
You could take it out of the Medi-Cal reimbursement from us, and she's staying in the Medi-Cal?
We could use Medi-Cal, but at the end of the day, it's still, if we use the Medi-Cal money for that purpose, then we can't use it for another purpose. And we use Medi-Cal money for all kinds of special ed needs. But yeah, it is an option to pay for that cost. And our reimbursements are going up as well. We're doing a better job in terms of reporting Medi-Cal spending, and our psychologists and counselors have higher certifications, so the state will reimburse us at higher rates.
Do we have a little breakdown on this 2.6 million for the services and other operating expenses? Is there any other, I mean, we've got a task ahead of cutting our budget, so when we look at salaries, we know what that means.
Yes.
Before we address that kind of stuff, are we looking at this 2.6 million, we can't possibly save some money there?
That's all of our utility costs. So
is that with the portables?
Portables are not in here because we paid for portables through developer fees, but they will be in here next year because we do not have enough developer fees next year to pay for those lease costs.
Do you know offhand what that lease cost is?
Over $250,000 a year for all of them. 247,000. But services and other operating expenditures, basically if it's not a physical item, and if it's not a salary, then it's coming from that line. And that will be our auditors, legal fees, license, all of our utilities, water, trash service is an operating service expenditures.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Accept the negative certification as presented.
Second by Bender, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Answer?
Motion to adjourn.
Can I ask one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I was getting late. Can we, how many empty rooms do we have in the school district?
Very few.
Very few, is 5, 10?
It depends on the campus. We have RHS have 2 that are currently being repaired. I think West Park may have 1 or 2.
We're using all these over here from the old school?
The old campus is, I believe, half occupied.
A little more than over half.
More than half.
Yeah, more than half. I think we have like 2 or 3 empty rooms actually.
That's one of the problems we experienced because of the growth. We ran out of classrooms because the portables became the classrooms because of the growth. But otherwise, we wouldn't be able to house the students. And we could do an analysis again.
I'd just like to make sure before we start looking at the budget real hard, we have room to where we can get rid of some portables and house some other personnel, offices and stuff like that. It could save us some money.
Yeah, everything should be on the table.
I like nice offices now, but here we've got a pet school, you know. I don't mind going into a little room.
Motion to adjourn.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
And answer?
Well, I mean, I just want to do what's best for students, so.
Sure.
I mean, I have a lot to learn. So I guess, first of all, I have to learn my role.
Sure.
And how to perform my role.
Right.
And then as an educator, as a parent,
Yes.
you know, I have lots of ideas, and of course the quality education for our students, quality schools. I mean, that where to go from there.
Right.
Right now it's like fact finding.
Yeah.
Where is the need?
Yeah.
Where's the need? You know, and so it's hard to make any type of statement.
Sure,
until
sure.
I get a handle on the picture.
I understand. And you say an educator.
Yeah.
A teacher?
I'm a principal, but
Principal.
I'm a teacher.
I see.
Once a principal, always a teacher, right?
Right, right.
Teacher, always a teacher.
Right. All right, well, good. Thanks for your comments, and I'll come back when you've been sitting in the chair for a little longer, and then we'll get an update.
When I have a better idea.
Uh-huh.
All right, thank you.